Hi, this is JL Zaring with 1LifeLive, and today I'm going to be working on this rear air suspension on my 2007 Ford Expedition. So if you have a Ford Expedition around 2007 to more or less around, I believe it goes all the way up to 2014, it should be pretty identical to this. This is the air shock right here. Now I am going to be changing it out for, let's turn this around right here. There we go. That is a Rancho Quick Lift Coilover shock or Coilover strut, or however you want to determine it. I always get them confused. I'm sure some of you could help me figure that one out. But I am going to be changing out this air shock for several reasons. Number one, I know it is great for towing on the street, and I don't do a lot of towing. A lot of guys do. They love it because it does not allow the rear end to sag. It's auto leveling. So as soon as it starts to sag, up it goes. It's all good. I even was able to figure out in the back here a way to manually adjust it and raise it up a few inches, and all was good. But I have done extensive research. I do a lot of off-road traveling and exploring myself alone. So there's a lot that can go wrong. Air shocks has numerous things that can go wrong. And again, I'm not talking about all air shocks. I'm talking about these particular Ford ones. They might even be called air bags, but they're just referred to as air suspension as far as Ford is concerned with this Expedition. There's just too many things that can go wrong. And I have read a lot of stories and heard from a lot of guys how the compressor can have issues, the airlines can have issues, the airbags can have issues, the solenoids can have issues. And if there's any issue with this airbag or air suspension, it can deflate completely, and you're down to the bump stops, wherever those are. It goes all the way down, and you can be out in the middle of nowhere, and it's without warning. There's so many things that can go wrong. It's not a quick fix. It's not even a quick, what do you call it? It'll even take you time to figure out what the heck is wrong, to fix whatever's wrong. Diagnosis, there you go. It's not a quick, you cannot quickly diagnose what is wrong. It is just flat on the ground. So I was already having some issues with these where the compressor was turning on a little more than it should. It never seemed to be lowering, but nevertheless it kept turning on, and that would also wear the battery out, especially if you just did a lot of quick little trips around town and the compressor keeps coming on and you never drive it long enough to recharge the battery. So most of the time I was running it with it off. But I just don't want to deal with it in the field, and also I know there's components in here that should be replaced every once in a while. Very expensive, more expensive than even the Rancho Quick Lift suspension I just bought. So it can even sag more over time. And then what can happen is if you're off-road and you're fully articulating the suspension, and this could even be off the ground. You know, Ford, I love this for off-road. It even has front and rear locking diffs, great. However, it does not have a wide range of suspension. I'll probably have to make my own or something from some F-150 kit. But that's the biggest downfall. It's really, the wheelbase is only about 2 inches longer than the the Jeep Unlimited, the 4-door Jeep. So the wheelbase is not too long. Sure, the front end and rear end have a little longer overhangs, but you know, I do more exploring and traveling off-road, not really rock climbing, which a lot of guys do. Okay, back to this air shock. Too many things can go wrong with it. Some things are already occurring. And just to give you a quick look at my CV boots there, they even popped off. The axle was at too much of an extreme, where this air shock was even hanging too low when it was fully articulated, caused the boots to come off. So that is going to be a next video in the future, repairing these CV half axles or half shafts, however you want to call them. I actually found some used ones on eBay for only 30 bucks each. I will keep these and rebuild these, but I'll just switch them out with used ones. Okay, let's get started here. For the Ford guys, they can quickly learn how to get this air shock off to service it, or to convert it to a different type of suspension, a spring conventional suspension. And then for anyone else that's watching, well, you know what? You can have fun, and I'm sure you'll pick up on things. I watch videos, repair videos all the time on YouTube, and I always pick up on, you know what, I need that tool, or here you go, here's a classic tool. I did not yet have these ratcheting wrenches. I had only these, and I was watching some videos, and the guy's using these, and it's just awesome. He's just flying, making it look like a breeze, and right away I knew I had to get these tools. Again, there are a lot of tools, and you can watch videos and just learn over time what tools might help you with your particular rig or things you have to fix. Now, one thing I do recommend when you go off-road a lot, and this is going to be a future video, is tools. I would rather buy my own tools, save the money on the labor with having someone else repair it, and that'll pay the tools off rather than paying someone else to do the labor for you. Now, I know there's some really in-depth things that you just might have to get a mechanic for, but you know, for a lot of things like this, you could do it yourself, especially if you have a few jacks and the right tools. You can save $300, $400, $500. Switching these out, I mean, I was quoted, I think it was around $400 to $500 in labor, and instead I just bought the tools I needed, and I already did the other side myself, so I could speed through this video a little bit more efficiently, and it already paid the tools off that I bought. So that's the first reason why I suggest to do your own work. The second reason is, if you're off-road a lot, and sometimes you can be with people or without, meaning alone, you might have a slight repair you have to do, or even a slight repair that maybe you can't repair it fully in the field, but you understand it enough to understand and comprehend how it is supposed to work, so you can figure out a quick fix just to get off the road safely or finish the trip safely. Get home where you can repair it more completely later. So you learn knowledge doing it yourself, even if it's a pain in the butt. But you know what? It's all fun, especially if you're smart and use your brains over brawn. Okay, a quick example is if you can use jacks or levers or pry bars I have down here over trying to break your back or elbows or knees, it could be a lot more fun. So learn what tools you might need, get them, and just be dedicated to learn. Right now, I think it is by far the best time to do your own work on maybe 50 to 70% of the things that could go wrong in your car with off-roading, meaning with like shocks or struts, or just a lot of minor little repairs to keep your rig going much longer now is the best time to do it because you can just get online, search for it. 9 out of 10 times I have come across that there is some video made already on YouTube or something close to it that could help me. So that could be for you too. So okay, let's get started here. I am going to, if you look on top, I am going to take those nuts off, and then what I found with the other side, it is easier to remove that lower control arm inner bolt rather than all of these. I did see some videos where they removed, I think, 1, 2, I think even 3 to get this out all the way and to put in their new suspension. Instead, I just used my this tool I found on Amazon. Great cheap tool. When I mean cheap, there are other name brands of this impact wrench or impact gun, whatever you want to call it, and a lot more expensive than this, and this had better reviews. I think it was about $55 to $65, and I'm taking off old bolts here torqued on with 300 pounds of torque, and they're coming right off. So let's get started, and I will show you how to remove this air suspension and put in this Rancho suspension that I just got. The other side worked great. It's awesome. I already tested it. It does not hang down as low, so it will save my future half axles. Okay, I'll get started on the top. Okay, this will call for 15 millimeter. I just use most of my tools with the metric. It's easier for me to remember all the sizes. That's just me though. I go metric. And it's really funny, but I know a lot of times I buy certain things or add-on stuff. Oh, I think I might have more stuff arriving. FedEx. And even though it's American, they call for metric anyway. So I go metric. That's just me. 15 on the top. I love using the ratchet wrench that I showed you. Now we can take the nuts off the top. As soon as you stop hearing the clicking, you know you can use your fingers to take off the rest. Where is... Oh, I have lizard friends. There are lizards everywhere. I think it's lizard mating season a while ago. I pre-loosened some of them. So after you get these off, before you think about taking this out, you have to disconnect the electrical and the air line and bleed it. For the rear, I use, I got this Tecton swivels. It's really nice from different angles. And then be ready when you do bleed it through the air solenoid, if that's how you say it. It makes a huge swoosh. So anyone around you will probably scare the heck out of them. Okay, the electrical is right here. That's the one furthest away. You remove that. Next, the air line with the electrical. It's just one of those simple little buttons you press, wiggle it, pull it out. Get the air line,
that little red piece, you want to push that up, being careful not to damage the airline itself, and you can pull this right out. If you don't, because it crimps it, you'll just be grabbing it and this whole thing will come out. It'll be like a little collet thing. You can take pliers, pop it off, stick it back up there. Up at the top, there is a little clamp. That'll go flying off. Make sure you grab it. If you're going to reinstall it, I'll just sell these for used parts. So they always say to wear goggles because air will come rushing out. At least turn your head. This will raise up. There you go. If you're going to utilize it again, check the little O-rings on the top. Put those back in, make sure they're straight. This is the little solenoid. You can save that for later. These I'm going to tie up out of the way with zip ties, and I'll even cover the openings with tape, just electrical wire, and you can just save it up here. You could cut it all off, but you know, why not just put it up there? Maybe in the future you could always utilize it for something, or if you ever had to go back to the air shocks, maybe you get into a towing mode for a few years, then you could stick them back on and tow. I'm just going to use ties. These are rated at I think 50 pounds of pressure. I have a few of them up to 75 pounds and 150 pounds, and I think even large 2-foot ones at 250 pounds. And they're really good to have, especially when you go off-road. You never know when those can come in so handy. Okay, I am now under the car here. I took the lines and taped them and tied them up. I always leave a little bit of a tail where I clip them, because sometimes I find that I need to cinch them a little tighter in the future when slack opens up. To remove the rest of the air assembly, right here is the air sensor. You can see in the past what I did is I raised the hole. The OEM hole is here for the sensor mount, and then with angles and washers I angled the mount straight, because there's a little ridge here on the lower control arm, and I was able to adjust the air suspension 1 inch up, 2 inches up, 1/2 inch up, mostly with just using another washer here or there. And that really helped for the guys that want to keep this but just have fun and raise the air suspension. That is what you can do. Right here again, try to get you in there. That's the OEM. That's the new mount. And to pop these off, it's really easy. There you go. This little band can pop off all the way, so just be careful that you don't. Okay, this is all the way off. As you can see, there's lots of fun grease from the CV boot opening up. Nice CV grease. And I just always use that toilet paper that you bought. Have you ever bought horrible toilet paper that happened to be on sale at the store? Yep. Just save it. Comes in handy. You might not like it, but the grease doesn't mind. Your truck or Jeep or SUV won't mind. So good thing. I will then remove those. I think I'm a few sockets short, so I'll be right back to grab some sockets. And then we'll remove the lower nut here from the outer control arm, and the inner nut, inner bolt here from the lower control arm. Now, to get this out, you don't have to remove this to get this out. But what I found on the other side, to get that in, it was the easiest thing to do. I have all of the washers, nuts, bolts, the little air sensor mount off. And now I'm going to use the hammerhead, which again, it works really nice. This one's not too loud, but I actually have ear protection for the inner one, which is very loud. I can't remember the exact name brand, but I think it's Surefire shooting ear plugs, but they just go right in, right out. Maybe you don't need to wear them. I already have a slight hearing loss from the fire department years ago, so I still want to be able to hear when I'm 60 and 70. Okay, maybe next time I will wear my little earplugs. Why I like them that compared to the other cheaper ones, these cost about 12 bucks. So they pop right in. Takes only about 10 seconds. That back nut is tied into a little, I don't know what you call it, but a little bracket so it won't turn on you. And yes, I always wear gloves. Every time I don't, I somehow cut my hands all up. This, by the way, was a 30 millimeter. On the other side was a 27 millimeter. And this inner bolt is also 27 millimeter. Well, what's interesting is this tire is over more to the driver's side compared to the passenger side, so it's a little harder to get at. Here's the bracket, full of that wonderful grease. toilet paper, the crappy, no pun intended, crappy toilet paper that was bought on sale, and it almost ended up in the trash can until I realized I did a basic simple check on my truck and found that it was not mud underneath, it was grease from the CV boots popping off, or actually this inner one has a little tear, again caused from the angle of the axles being too extreme. I took pictures and examined the axles and they were okay. So if I wanted to keep them that high, the axles themselves were not coming out. But it was still too much strain on the CV boots. And if anyone has dealt with CV boots popping off, it's a pain in the butt with all this grease everywhere, and you can't simply pop the boots back on. So it's a pain. This pulled out, this is going to come down. I did have a half spacer on there before. The half spacer did nothing because I didn't realize that the mechanic that was helping me at the time, he stuck these extra bolt extenders on. Of course, he didn't tell me. So when I thought I was only raising it a little bit, he put these extenders on, in which this was useless. And these extenders made this travel too far, and that's what did the boots. Now, of course, he didn't care, he didn't know, nor did he comprehend any of this or even check, until I tried to figure out what was going on here, and I realized these extenders were on, and my little half spacer was doing absolutely nothing due to these. These had to be off. Pry bars. Now, if I wasn't taking that out, and if I was only dealing with this, you can just use a pry bar to pop it out the rest of the way if it catches. And what happens, as soon as you pull this up from the lower control arm, these bolts hit. So I'm going to pop these little bolt extensions off and get this out, or I should say unscrew them. I removed the little bolt extenders. This is what I did not know the mechanic put on, so it made my little half spacer useless. It also led to the CV half axles or half shafts to be extended a little too much when I had full articulation, when the tire came down all the way. Let's say when I was off-road and there was a big dip and the tire went down all the way, maybe those are up, and I did all the measuring, and luckily it didn't rip out my brake line. But once I discovered the grease, I wanted to figure this out, and luckily I did. I already tested the other side, putting in the Rancho suspension, and it's about an inch shorter, and that makes all the difference. And there's a slack on the brake line, and the angles are really nice, and the shaft is not almost hitting the bottom mount. So I'm going to remove this inner bolt. You might need to twist it off. I put a little bit of these blocks underneath the lower control arm, so I'm going to rest it on that, and then I'll pop this out. Again, if you're just switching this out, you can use a crowbar to lightly pop it out. I'm going to do it a little easier and remove this back bolt. There you go, it's out. And just so I don't get the bolts confused, I'm going to connect it to its bracket. So I don't use it for this one, which is a much larger one. Now wiggle this down. Be careful this doesn't fall. Can't remember if I used a. Where's my rubber mallets? Maybe a bigger rubber mallet. Okay, the battery died on me. I'm back getting this out still. And what I forgot, the last one, is I just sprayed a little oil, because this has been here for a long time. I let it sit for just a minute. I came back and wiggled it, and it started to come right out, so I'm hoping it's going to pop out the rest of the way. This lower control arm's going to come down here. I'm going to rest it on here. Pull this out. Stick the good one in. Bolt it, and jack it up. There you go. That was easy enough. I forgot. I need to support that in. Not here. If you're wondering about that jack, I have other jack stands over there, but when I was in the fire department, I saw what happens to guys that just depend on one hand jack, and it's not pretty if it fails. So I usually have one hand jack and two safeties with installing this shock for Rancho suspension or coilover shock or coilover strut or whatever it's called. These are not equal. So there's two close ones, one far away. The two close ones go in front, the one far away goes in back, which puts this knob in the front. It goes from 1 to 9. I just keep it on 9 for right now.
You want to set it in gently. You do not want to knock that knob off. Okay, earlier I said to use brains over bronze, and brain over brawn, and this is what I meant. I have this little 1.5 ton jack. I put it under the lower control arm. So after I got the bolt in, I used this to hold the Rancho suspension until I can reach through with the bolt and put it in on the other side. This is just a little pry bar that's included with a combo kit on Amazon that I have found quite useful. Now you might think, you know, these jacks cost a lot, but I think this 1.5 ton jack at Harbor Freight, I think it was only $60 or $55. It was on sale with one of those 20% off coupons, and I just bought it for little simple things like this. And again, I saw this used in other videos, and I deemed it very advantageous. This jack is an Arcan Jack XL. I believe it's for extra low. I can use it for the low cars or getting in low spots. I lined this all up. I slowly jacked it up. I simply guided in the upper bolts into the housing as I was slowly jacking it up. I lined it up. It took me about, maybe 10 minutes to lower it and readjust it. I'm also on an incline. It's a lot more difficult on the incline because the jacks want to roll forward. And I wish I wasn't, but that's where I am right now. So if you're flat, it could maybe only take a minute or two. So it took about 10 minutes. I still have to finish tightening those, jack this up the rest of the way, insert the bolt, still have to torque it, tighten them all the way. But this is the general setup that made it very easy without kicking my butt. I got my butt kicked yesterday when I was trying to use all these pry bars and whatnot until I figured out this. And I did search everywhere for instructions and installation procedures. There were nowhere. In Rancho, as much as I might like their suspension, they had nothing. It said enter the part number. I entered it. No instructions. But I mean, a lot of it's just common sense and just trying to utilize the tools you have. Okay, so I'm just going to raise this one up the rest of the way. As you can see, it just gets pressed right up, and then I will bolt it all down. You know what? I think I'm off to dinner for a little bit. Okay, as you can see, it's finally done. I used that one pry bar with the point to help guide the lower control arm in and put the bolt in. I then torqued it with this Tecton torquing wrench. I think it was only about $70 on Amazon to about 250 pounds of torque. I believe when I did the research it was 275, so I tried to just do a tad more on these two lower bolts. I tightened the top, and that's it. All done. Next, we'll come putting the tire on, but I hope you already know how to put the tire on. So I don't think I have to show you that. Again, I just do the star tightening, and for these specs it is 150 pounds of torque. So I torque that, and that's it. I am finally done. Okay, and be careful when you get up. Last time I got up, caught the corner of my back, and I felt pain. But the one good thing about pain, and I know you've heard this before, is that you know you're alive. So yes, I knew I was definitely very much alive for those few moments of ultimate pain. Okay, there's the little pry bar I was talking about. And I am done for right now. Again, this is JL Zaring at 1LifeLive. Next, I will show you the tools, my favorite tools, a video of that, and then a further video of the rock sliders that I'm reinforcing. That is it. Take care. Enjoy your time off-road and with 1LifeLive, and more videos soon to come your way, so please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you much. Hey, I tricked you. You thought the video was over. Well, guess what? I thought the video was over too. And then I figured, you know what? Maybe there's some people that don't know about tightening in a star fashion or what a torque wrench is. So this is a torque wrench. And foot per pounds goes up to 250 right here. There's a little tightening knob down here, so you loosen it up. You make sure the base isn't too tight. You turn the handle to where you want it. So right now I have it set at 150 pounds. And I retighten it so it doesn't shift. And then they say when you store this torque wrench, store it at the bottom, so it's 0 pounds. Not sure why, but okay, sounds good. And then I have my little handy key. The trick with your key is leave it in your car. You don't know when you're going to need it. Okay, I think you can see me. Star fashion. Most people know this, but everyone has to learn sometime. So when you start with one, pick whatever one you want. With the torque wrench, wait till it clicks. You hear that click? That means it hit 150 pounds. The star would then come down. So it's just like if you do a star on a piece of paper. That's how you want to tighten it. Come back up. Do. It just helps make it uniformly tightened correctly. And I think I did it right, because you always want to double check. I then go in a circle just to make sure I didn't miss the last one. In case you couldn't hear me, I go in a circle just in case I missed one, and guess what? I have missed them before. That last one by accident. I know some guys that have put these on and they forgot to torque them at all. Luckily, it was on a trailer, and then the tire came off. No, it wasn't me. There you go. They're all torqued. Key. If you notice with the keys, there's usually two you can pick. Always try to pick the larger one. I'm looking for another place where I can get another key. One day this key is going to go out, or maybe every year or so you might want to buy new locks, get a new key. These keys are not invincible, and it's already breaking. Okay, now I think the video's over. Again, this is JL Zaring with 1LifeLive, and coming up next, or sometime in the future, will be the rock sliders, and then a video on the tools that I deem as my favorite for upkeeping my off-road car. Thank you very much. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care.